Oh, I was really grooving to that music.
Yeah, it was nice.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fightful Prediction Show with me, Stephanie Chase, joined today by PW Torch's Rich Fann. And Rich, it's the most wonderful time of the year. It's WrestleMania weekend. How are you doing?
I'm doing a lot better now that most of Pittsburgh isn't underwater. We've had a lot of torrential downpour and thunderstorms, so getting ready to go to Philly is going to be an adventure with my man in WH Park from Post. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a great 2 nights of wrestling, and then obviously a great week of wrestling. It's almost like a celebration or some sort of like festival.
Yeah, it's great to have someone that's actually going to Mania on the show, so that's cool. I myself am not, but I never really have WrestleMania FOMO. I think it's just too much for me. Like the 2 nights, stadium, all of it seems overwhelming. But 1 year, if it's in Minnesota next year, I think I'd actually go because I like Minnesota a lot. I know Rob backstage would be down for that, but yeah, it's really exciting. The weather here has been awful as well. I'm in Toronto. If you don't know, guys, I'm now a Toronto girl. I'm trying to be Canadian, so I'm in the city, and yeah, a lot of my friends that are trying to get to Mania are not having the best time with that, given the weather. But what can you do? I'm also recovering from COVID right now, so if my voice is bad, that's why. I've been hit by COVID, bad weather, but yeah, I'm still loving Toronto. So yeah.
Yeah,
it's
crazy, Stephanie. I hope you're feeling better.
Oh yeah, I am. It was really bad for like a couple of days, and like all my friends got it. We all got it after Dynamite. Because crowds. I think there'd probably be some after WrestleMania, but yeah, we're all feeling pretty good. But what can you do? It's still around. That's all I can say. But anyway, we're going to predict WrestleMania. Welcome to Ashley, new member of the channel there. I'm not able to put this stuff on screen at the minute, so maybe Rob will do that. But yeah, guys, we're going to predict both nights of WrestleMania. I'm going to go through I'm going to take the list from Wikipedia. So if you want to follow along and get your predictions ready for the next match, like that's my reference point. And yeah, send in your predictions, send in your comments, send us some super chats. And before we get to it, though, let's first hear from our sponsors over at Bet Online.
Hey guys, I'm here to tell you about Bet Online AG, the official betting partner of Fightful. Whenever you hear about odds for wrestling events, boxing events, MMA events, or really anything, it comes from betonline.ag. They have the earliest lines with odds open before the competition. You can bet big with high limits and rebet functionality. They have the fastest payouts with winnings paid in just minutes and the industry's best bonuses on every qualifying deposit. The biggest markets like NFL, NBA, NCAA, NHL, UFC, plus odds for things like WWE, AEW, and tons of other companies as well. They also have a bunch of popular games. They've been trusted for 25 plus years. As I mentioned, if we have odds here on Fightful, they are always coming from betonline.ag. Check it out, my friends. Bet what you can. Please bet responsibly.
betonline.ag. All right, Rich, 2 nights. Before we get into the card, do you think these are like an evenly split 2 nights? Do you think you're getting your money's worth in night 1 and night 2?
Yeah, I think so. I think with WWE's roster, especially over the last few years, it's been huge.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has been the game of, is everyone going to make the show? I mentioned with my editor-publisher over at The Torch, this seems like 2 different types of WrestleManias. The night 1 is like an old school 80s, 90s WrestleMania. And then night 2 is more of like a 2000s style WrestleMania. And I think because of that, we're getting so many different options and so many different things you can look into in terms of threats, celebrations, stakes. And at the same time, you have a roster that is just top to bottom. Everyone's looking to show out. And so I think it's going to be a really good 2 nights.
I think like for me, this is like the most excited I've been about a WrestleMania in like a really long time. because I think WWE is just it's on fire at the minute. Not just because of Dwayne, but he's a big part of it. But it's really like across the board been really, really good. And this it feels like one of the like first WrestleManias where I really think like it justifies 2 nights. Usually for me, I'm like 2 nights is too much. I'd rather they just did 1 night. But like this card, looking at this, really it makes me feel like 2 nights is what we need. And as Sean says here, get in your question or statement by donating a super chat. Let's start off night 1. Let's start with the women. Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. These two, they had the inevitable task of following CM Punk on Ariel's show by doing like a little angle, very 80s angle. How have you felt about this build? And do you see Rhea's title reign ending here?
I think Rhea's going to retain. I think the build's been great. I think Rhea has shown she's one of the biggest stars in the company, regardless of gender. She is just so captivating. And if anything, I think Becky's done a great job as one of the last of the horsewomen, so to speak, that are healthy on the roster to usher this generation into what they're doing. And so seeing her on MMA Hour and seeing her in that role, it made sense because she is the person that is, to me, one of the biggest like flag bearers of the women's division. I think that the build's been great. I love the fact that she's approaching this without like the Bechdel test. There isn't a boyfriend. There isn't anything involving Seth. It is just 2 women who either don't respect or respect and hide it each other. And they're trying to prove they're the best.
I'm not as high as you on the build. I think like the build's been a little bit hit and miss for me. I think it's hard because there's so much support for Rhea and everyone wants to cheer Rhea, and she was coming off like the big Australian show as well. And I think Becky's kind of like struggled to like justify cheers for her. And I think some of the stuff's gone into like weird territory, like her maybe saying like Rhea uses sex appeal too much, which it was so weird because like that to me, like to woman that lived through the Attitude Era, like that's not what I see with Rhea at all, you know, like doing that. Like I see Rhea as so like dominant, athletic, and all these other things. And then the whole like my daughter, don't mention my daughter thing, I thought was like kind of grasping a bit as well. But I do think that Rhea has like the best matches on the big stage. Like all her matches with Charlotte are some of my favorite WWE women's matches. Probably I was gonna say of the last decade, but like let's be real, like ever. So I think it's gonna be really good. But like I'm with you. I think Rhea is gonna retain as well. I don't think we're ready for her to lose the championship yet. And I think maybe a better moment for her would be to lose when we're finally allowed to accept her as a face. And maybe this pushes Becky into being a heel if that's what they want to do, like a title change down the line.
Yeah, and I think to your point, I think you're absolutely right. And as a result, it would be helpful if it sounds counterintuitive. It would have been helpful if Rhea wasn't as open. I mean, over it as before this feud started. But the problem is that she's always had this groundswell behind her, and now it's kind of been pushed into this eruption, like you said, post Australia. Becky, she's always had counterparts that have been seen as the favorites outright. So when you deal with Ronda and she's the media favorite, you deal with Charlotte, she's the queen. You could have these things where she's pushing back. I think the problem with Rhea is she is a fellow underdog that's earned her role. You saw the mirror. If they can't do it, and I don't think they would do it right now. I really would appreciate if they did the video showing Rhea in her first time in NXT to now Becky, her first time in NXT to now, to see that they're 2 women that really should respect each other and know that they've gone down the same road. But I don't know if that's what they want to sell right now. So that's what also makes it tough, to your point.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's going to be awesome. I think it will kick off the show. I don't know if this order is like official, but I think that's what Becky wants. And I think that probably is what will happen. Moving on, we have Gunther versus Sami Zayn. I love Gunther. Everyone loves Sami Zayn. I really didn't like the Raw montage. It was too silly for me. It was just like it it just felt like pretty overproduced, and it all kind of happened too quickly too, that he got like this. But it was interesting to watch because like I watched that and was like, no, this is like taking me out of it. It's a bit silly. I'm I'm not into fun, so I didn't like it. But then when you had during Sami's match, Gunther dragging Chad out there, then I was like, okay, this kind of thing I can get behind. Like, this is Gunther to me. I think Gunther is going to retain here. What about you? Do you believe in Sami Zayn in Philadelphia, our little rock?
I do. I'm a softie. I think it's going to be Sami pulling it out in Philly. He's going to be like the little Rocky that could and get that win. And I think, if anything, I think it makes sense for Sami to win because Gunther has the record. There's not much else he can do with the Intercontinental title. He's been a great steward for it.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for Gunther to fight for a world title. I think it's time for him to move himself out of the Intercontinental scene and become that guy that ascends and takes on either the winner of the Seth and Drew match, or maybe if Cody wins, being one of his first heels. I think that's a very, American thing, the foreign heel to go up against the new champion. So that's where I'm at on that.
I do think that Gunther needs to move up, and I think he's like earned it, and there's not really nothing else he can do with this championship. I'd kind of rather see him like retire as champion or something like that, do a Samoa Joe and be like, hey, fuck this belt. I'm like moving on, like that kind of thing. I don't know if they do that though. I know that when I was talking about this yesterday, a lot of people were like, oh, well, Gable should be the one to be Gunther. And I like don't see that happening at all. Like, no offense to Gable when I know they've built up the story, but like I just don't see that happening with like the investment in Gunther. But yeah, I see Gunther retaining. I'm sorry. I see Gunther retaining.
I'm okay. I'm ready to have my heart broken.
Yeah. Well, in the chat, we've got Nikki saying Gable will turn on Sami and Gunther retains. That would be heartbreaking if Gable turned on Sami. And it is kind of split. We got Andy saying Sami, Scott saying Gunther, Ryan saying Gunther. I think they're going to have a really good match, though. I think Sami always pulls it out at WrestleMania, and Gunther is just incredible, Okay, a 6-pack tag team ladder match for the Undisputed Tag Team Championship. And this is not going to end till both belts are taken down. So we could get 2 different champions here, right? So we've got the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest versus DIY, Gargano and Ciampa, the Awesome Truth, Miz and R-Truth, the New Day, Kofi and Xavier, A-Town Down Under, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, and the New Catch Republic, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. Now, when I was thinking about this one yesterday, I was kind of like, oh, I don't really care about this match. Is that bad? So I'm going to let you start on this match. Like, what do you think is going to happen here?
Looking at this match, I think the people who need it the most are DIY and A-Town Down Under. Everyone else are either established tag champs, established teams that reunited in the case of the Awesome Truth. New Catch Republic's getting the reward after years and years of being British strong style to get to ply their trade at WrestleMania. Yeah. And I think Finn and Damian, this is a good time for them to kind of drop both belts and move back into the singles scene, because I think we're forgetting that Damian, which I think they probably want as well, Damian is senior Money in the Bank, and so at some point he's going to cash that sucker in when we least expect it. I absolutely love Grayson Waller. He is the right type of annoying to just get under your skin, and so I think that him as a tag champ with Austin Theory for now is a great way as a placeholder until they can get him into the singles scene. Because if you look at this roster for the young guys, you're climbing a mountain right now to get past not just the established guys.
There's not much.
If I'm like on whether it's the young guys or the young ladies, if I'm let's say Elektra Lopez, look at the mountain you got to climb with the women.
Yeah.
If I'm freaking as much as I love him, Grayson Waller, you got to get past Cody. You got to get past all these other dudes. And then you get The Rock, you get Logan Paul, you get all these other people that pop up randomly for big events. Get the tag championships, be a scumbag, be the people you love to hate, and then work your way into the single scene later in the summer or maybe in the fall.
So you're saying A-Town down and DIY as the two new champions.
Yep, I think DIY win the Raw Tag Championships and A-Town Down win the SmackDown.
I think DIY, it could benefit them because I think their returns like been a little flat to me. I really like Ciampa in particular, but yeah, I think it's been like a little flat. I get what you're saying about A-Town Down. I think that Grayson Waller has kind of shown up Austin Theory in a way. He's kind of like a better version of Austin Theory, which is kind of unfortunate for Austin to be paired with him. But, and I think it's a good place for Grayson right now. Finn and Damian, yeah, we definitely need to get the belts off them. And also, like, the Judgment Day story seems to just be like quite repetitive. Like, it's like every time we're coming towards a pay-per-view, there's someone being like, oh, you did something that you didn't run by the rest of the group. I'm not sure if we fully trust you. Anyway, oh, Damian's got the briefcase. It's a lot of that. I don't see Newcastle Republic winning. They're the only ones I can't see winning. I do think Awesome Truth, like Miz and R-Truth, that would be quite a fun moment because R-Truth was pretty funny, in the like run up to this. New Day, I can't see that either. It's kind of just going back to like default with tag team titles and put it on them. So yeah, I'm gonna agree with you and go with DIY and A-Town Down Under. Yeah, and let us know in the chat. We've got quite a few comments here. Michael says DIY. John says DIY win Raw titles, Newcastle Republic win SmackDown belts. Scott wants R-Truth to get his WrestleMania moment. Kaiwan says DIY and A-Town Down need it more. Yeah, I think so too. And Nick says Awesome Truth grabbing Raw titles to give Truth his Mania moment, and A-Town Down Under grab SmackDown titles. A lot of people wanting R-Truth to get his Mania moment. It's because that Dom and Nick thing, it was so stupid, but it was so funny as well.
And it's funny. I would also add in, Stephanie, if folks get a chance, ESPN has a article series that are buying for like Black stars, sports figures, and they did an article this morning on R-Truth, and I did not know this. Last year when he got sick, he almost had his leg amputated because of the complications from the infection. And so God, it's a miracle he's out there. So as I was thinking about that and I saw in the chat people were making, I was like, oh man, it really would be cool to give R-Truth that moment. Like he's really like worked his way back from like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to walk to I'm back and look like the same R-Truth he's looked for like 35 years.
That's wild. I need to read that. I absolutely give him his Mania moment then. Yeah. I mean, gosh, I didn't know he went through that. The thing about R-Truth is how he has looked the same for 30 years, which is incredible enough on itself. But if he went through that, yeah, that's wow. Okay, so R-Truth and Miz definitely getting one of the belts there, I think. Okay,
yeah, this is real time. Like we're making decisions. We're just changing it up. It's fine.
Yeah, no, that's insane. Okay, well, kind of a former tag team here. We have brother versus brother, Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso in a singles match. This one I think could have maybe been like built better if The Rock didn't turn up for the other bloodline stuff. I feel like is this match the biggest victim of Dwayne being like so overpowering, where I kind of feel like the Usos are like, because this is all still part of the bloodline storyline, but I kind of feel like the Usos are a little bit forgotten in it, like because Dwayne is there, in a way, because like all the attention goes on him and what he's doing with the Rock and Cody and Roman. But yeah, who do you see winning this one between the two brothers?
I see Scott George in the chat with Yeet Beats No Yeet. I am on team No Yeet for the win because I think we do need some heels to get a win here. And I think the Jimmy getting Jey by some sort of chicanery or shenanigans with his younger brother would be a great way to set up like, oh, is this going to be a clean sweep for the bloodline this weekend? And kind of off they go.
I think Jimmy wins as well. And I think he wins for it to like factor into the other Bloodline WrestleMania stuff. Like I wonder if he wins and he like brings Jey back in after that, because I do feel that once Cody, we're done with all that, we need some kind of like big bloodline implosion, especially if Dwayne wants to stick around. So yeah, I would rather see like the heel win in this case. I think it would be a good setup for everything else that's going to come. Juan says it's because the Usos are in the background of the bloodline stuff. Yeah, it almost feels like this match would have had more heat on it like a couple months ago, but then you want to do it at the WrestleMania stage, like you want to give that to them. So like it's a difficult one, but I think a lot of these matches, not the build has suffered because Dwayne's there, but like the bloodline, the Cody Dwayne stuff, Roman stuff is like so overpowering that I think I'm a little I just don't think I've seen as much of the Uso storyline as maybe we would have if that wasn't going on. All right, up next, I'm really excited for this one. We have Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi taking on Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. Jade Cargill gets a WrestleMania match. I don't think Jade could be in there with like any better, women to help her carry her. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. Like she is still a green wrestler. She's still going to need help. And like, this is a great, like she's got two great teammates and then like great opponents. I'm not sure that like she ever, this does sound derogatory, like that she maybe ever got with this caliber in AEW. Really? Did she?
Okay. To be fair, Steph, as you're saying this, AEW has never had a match featuring this many former World of Stardom, Wondrous Stardom, international superstar, like the level of quality wrestlers in this match around Jade, they don't have. And so I think it's not derogatory. I think it's just you stating facts.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Jade, Bianca, and Naomi will win this match just like so Jade stands tall in WrestleMania. Where they go from there, like, I don't know if it will be like a team with Bianca or a turn or something like that. But I'm excited to see how it goes. But I think that I think that all eyes will be on Jade for this match. I think that it will probably be like, quite practice, like they will have run through what she needs to do, but I'm expecting her to have a really good showing. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, same. I think Jade's gonna get the spotlight, especially with the finish. I think she's gonna be the person that gets the pin. I've been debating if it's Dakota or Kairi that is the person, but I think she's gonna stand tall. And as in the chat we had John, I think at some point it's gonna be Jade and Bianca in a tag run. And lead into them kind of just that way she's the face, and going into SummerSlam, you could see her as a tag champ. And I think that would be a really cool ascension for her because she doesn't have to be the.
Would you do them as heels? Like, because it's like Bianca's character, like it felt like she was going more heelish. And then if she had someone like Jade with her who, the way that Jade like presents herself, could you see them like going to like a more heel side or like a babyface tag team run?
I think they're going to start as baby faces, and it's going to be like a reverse baddies storyline where Jade and Bianca start to slowly turn heel as Naomi's trying to keep them from going down the dark path. And I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun as well. Yeah. But yeah, I think this match would be really good. I think like they, as in WWE, like they know that they have to present Jade well, do well with Jade. Like they've held off on having her wrestle for like so long. I think that means like this has got to be good. Like they know what they're doing here. And I'm really like glad for Dakota to get in this match. I just really like Dakota. I think sometimes she gets like a little kind of forgotten about, and it's cool that she's like got a place in this match because she's such a good wrestler as well. But yeah, let's move on to The Latino World Order, Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio, which I know you love Dom, just like
Yes.
I love Dom. Is this match like what you were hoping for Dom's WrestleMania match?
For those of you who haven't heard me yet on the torch, for the last few years, I have been championing the idea that Dom wins Money in the Bank, and at some point is like the Mikey Whipwreck 8 of WWE. Like he wins a WWE title and is just an absolute coward with it. So
Mhm.
that's my highest dream. Right now, I think in a WrestleMania match again against his dad, in a great tag with Santos Escobar, like he's surrounded by lucha royalty. And I know he's kind of like the son of lucha royalty, and that's something that I don't think he takes for granted. I think Ray and Lee win, but Dominic looks like $1 million because he's been. I mean, think about when Punk came back and they had the TV executives in LA. They had him against Dom. He has ascended in the last year in a way that it isn't just I'm Ray's kid. I'm one of your trusted heels that gets heat and can do a good job in the ring. And I think he's earned this spot on the card. And if he is in the semi-main as the Wikipedia's listing, that's a heck of a graduation gift for him.
Oh yeah. I think that Dom, while we were all like enjoying just booing the hell out of him, like on the sly actually really, really improved in ring. And I think you can see that. And he's improved in every way. I kind of wish that he was just getting a solo match against his dad again and could just like beat his dad's ass, and or if it was, or like Mask versus her or something. But I wouldn't want him to shave his head though, because that is interesting heel hair that you should probably keep. But yeah, I think that Dom is going to win this one with Santos. I don't know. I did just feel like on SmackDown, it did like feel like a little rush, and sometimes like the Dom and Ray stuff kind of does. Like, you know, WrestleMania's come around now. Like he has to encounter his dad again when he's been going through all this, you know, stuff with Judgment Day. But yeah, I'm really happy for Dom. Like he's improved so much. He's like gone from almost like just being a meme to like actually, you know, yeah, really good, and like guy, yeah, that you put in there with CM Punk, which is absolutely massive.
Yeah. And I think when you look at what he's done, he's gone from, like you said, a meme, and then he's also gone from he needs to be in the ring or constantly around his dad. And so the Judgment Day storyline long term, he joins them after they completely harass his dad. And now he's at the edge of leaving because he's so focused on his dad. He's not paying attention to his girlfriend or his stablemates that are saying, hey, why are you bringing these guys in? Even though they were cool bringing in old Granite Head McGee in terms of, his name just fell out of my head. Easter Island head dude. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, I don't. Sorry.
You don't? You remember Judgment Day that is Finn Balor's
Oh God, JD McDonough.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Mr. For those of you, apologies. If you ever saw the Super Bowl commercial, there's a rule here in the States that for everything you learn, there's something you forget. And so I'm constantly forgetting names, and I apologize. JD McDonough still is Easter Island head to me because, you know, he's got a ginormous head. And as someone with a giant head myself, I am preaching to the choir.
No comment on JD McDonough. But I like when it comes to Dom, like I have a lot of like words that I have to eat like privately of stuff I said like years ago about what they were doing with Dom in WWE. And then like I can't help but kind of like compare him to Hook, which I was doing, that they kind of, like they weren't putting Hook out to have those matches in the way that they were with Dom. But actually, like Dom has ended up in like a way better position than kind of how they've handled Hook in AEW. So I think Dom is like, yeah, he's a success story that could only happen to him. Like it's only going to happen to like the son of a legend that you get to like skip NXT, get thrown in the deep end, and then end up in this wild storyline where you go to jail, grow a mullet, and then become like one of the best heels in the company. Like that's it. That's pretty wild. Dom turns face and shakes Ray's hand. I don't think so, Fernando.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
And to Dom's credit, one of the things that helped him skip NXT was the fact that just like Fit Finley's son, he
Mhm.
trained under Lance Storm. And
Yeah.
so Lance Storm's kind of like that like skip button. If you got the
Yeah.
Lance Storm training seal of approval, which I wish he still taught people and had classes, because he was one of my favorite wrestlers, and the people he's trained are clearly some of the better wrestlers we see on television or in wrestling.
For sure. And when you listen to him, on with Brian Alvarez, like you can tell he's got a really great wrestling mind and thinks about things really well and like kind of objectively, and he's just like got it all. And yeah, I used to love hearing his kind of stories of training back in the day. Before, when did he stop that? Just before COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, our main event. This is definitely the main event for night one. We got the Bloodline, The Rock, and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins. I can't say I never thought I'd see The Rock wrestle again, but like I never thought it would come together as quickly and be as epic as it has been this year. I'm really so invested in this because I think like I know you watch a lot of movies and talk about movies a lot and stuff. And I think the thing with like Dwayne for like a long time with me is he's just been kind of like boring. And
Mhm.
like quite vanilla because like he wants to appeal to everyone, right? Like that's his thing. He never wants to like offend. He might want to be president one day. And he's always just like selling you this brand. But he's gone like so full in on this. Like
Mhm.
he's like taken a risk here that I haven't really seen him take for a long time outside of wrestling, in movies or anything like that. Like he really doesn't give a fuck. He's he's showing kids crying on TV, all this stuff. And I think all the like criticisms that like I've heard of Dwayne from people like outside wrestling, just talking about him like as a personality and as an actor and stuff. Like what I'm like, I wish all these people were watching him in WWE because this is a guy that's just like doesn't seem to care anymore about this like branding or image or anything like that. He is like full in on being this character and like doing whatever. Like he's on TV whipping a man with a belt. All of this, like it's wild, and he's been so amazing. Like how have you, as a longtime fan, reacted to the return of Dwayne?
Yeah, to your point, most of his movies, it's fair to say he's playing The Rock in whatever role he's doing. And
Mhm.
it's just go from there. Looking at him in the final boss character, this
Yeah,
is I would love for him to, like you said, I would love for him to take this sort of leap in movies. He tried it like maybe 10, 15 years ago when he did some of
yeah,
those dramatic roles and people didn't take to them. I
yeah.
think when you look at what he's doing now, he is enjoying the heck out of himself. He's pushing his character in a way that we haven't seen in years and years. Cody, yeah, as John mentions, I think this is a great match for him to show how much of a jerk he is. And when you look at what went down in terms of one, we went from, is The Rock wrestling at WrestleMania? Is he going to be a
Mhm.
special referee? Is Roman wrestling? Is he going to wrestle twice? Roman's never going to wrestle twice. Now Roman's wrestling twice.
Yeah.
Roman and The Rock became the two-man power trip for this generation of wrestling fans. And it's so fun to see them and
Mhm.
see them play off of each other. And so, if anything, I just hope he doesn't leave after Mania, and we want to keep it going.
Yeah, me too. And this is going to be so great for Cody because I think like the WWE fans who maybe didn't keep up with Cody after, his first WWE run, that weren't like watching him uh, doing his indie stuff, Ring of Honor stuff, challenging for the NWA title, all of that, and his AEW stuff, probably don't know like just how great he is in these like hyper dramatic like life or death situation matches. And I think he's really going to get that like in there with The Rock, because this stuff that The Rock did to him the past 2 weeks on Raw, like I don't know what he's going to end up doing to him in a match, but I think that Cody and Seth are going to lose, and I wouldn't even be surprised if Cody's the one that has to take the pin on this, just to really add to like that underdogness, because I think that's kind of when Cody's at his best, when he's really like fighting from the bottom and there's a lot of blood and there's a lot of crying and there's a lot of family stuff and all of that. Like I can see that happening. But who do you see winning this match?
Yeah, especially when you see what's going on with Cody was just on Ariel Helwani himself, and he got really
Yeah.
emotional talking about his wife and how he's looking forward to whatever role she might play in WrestleMania.
Mhm.
Seeing her in the Elizabeth role as he's bleeding and just the anguish on her face is like The Rock is like starting stuff with her and his mom. I
Yeah.
think that's a great way to finish night one. And I think that the final boss gets the pin with a rock bottom.
Yeah. Brandy it can be really great when used correctly, I think. Like I always think of her in the Elizabeth role, at All In, like getting in line on top of Cody during the match with Nick Aldis. So yeah, I think she has to make an appearance, and his mom has to make an appearance, but there's been like so many references to his mom. Of course, his mom is going to be there, but Brandy's the one I could actually see doing something physical as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think they have kind of backed themselves into a corner a bit with like the Rock and Roman have to win this, because you can't put bloodline rules on the table for the next night and then not deliver on that, can you?
No, especially having shown what it looks like.
Yeah.
I think that was a teaser to remind people Bloodline Rules basically is an ECW match. And what better place in Philadelphia to have like all sorts of mayhem and hell happening in the world title match?
For sure. So that's night one. Now we move on to night two, and we'll start with Seth freaking Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. Gosh, I've been loving Drew so much recently. Like, this is the most I've ever loved Drew. I love him trolling Punk so much. Everyone knows Punk's my favorite guy, but there's nothing that I find more attractive than somebody trolling the hell out of someone I really like. So Drew McIntyre trolling Punk is the best. And I do kind of feel like sorry for Seth, because he just always feels like minimalized in like every feud he's in, like, and here we've got Punk doing commentary for this match, so I think he's going to play a part in it as well. But okay, my prediction for this match, I'll just put it out there first, and then you can counter me, is Drew wins, but then Priest cashes in, and that Priest leaves with the championship, and that makes Drew more bitter and angry and more of a troll. I think something like that's going to happen to him. I don't know. I think this is where Priest cashes in, and we see him leave as champion and not Drew, and Drew's just there like so angry, and maybe it has something to do with CM Punk. I'm probably overbooking this. What do you think, Rich?
My God, as you're talking, the more you were talking, and CM Punk leaves, the more you're talking, the more I understood, and the more I understood, the more I agreed. I think he's gonna blitz Seth. Like I think Seth's gonna get hurt during the main event of night one, and then he's gonna come in hobbled, and Drew's just gonna blitz him, and he's gonna talk a lot of crap to CM Punk in the ring. And Punk's gonna kick him, hit him with his cast, something. He's gonna have like a steel pipe or something in that armbar, and then sitting your money in the bank's going to run down, like you say, I'm with you 100%, and cash in. And then CM Punk will get to laugh at Drew as he leaves beltless.
Yeah. Punk's going to want to do something like big here and like not just do commentary. Like he said to Ariel, like, they're protecting me from myself. Like this guy would have gone and had a WrestleMania match if he was allowed to. So yeah, I think he's gonna do something. And yeah, I do think Senior Money in the Bank will become Senior Champion. And that's how we're gonna end that. And Seth, like, I think Seth has done like the best he could with like the spot that he was given, because he was in a really difficult spot, because you never getting more attention than Dwayne. Roman is the guy that's been champion for years and years. Cody's the one that we're all emotionally invested in, and someone else had to be the other guy, and that's Seth. But Drew is someone that has done like so much with so little. Like, he's made this moment an opportunity for himself, really, I think. And I don't think he'll be rewarded with the title, but I think he'll be rewarded with something very memorable that will set up for a epic match as soon as CM Punk is able to do it. Okay, next match, Iyo Sky versus Bayley. I really hope Bayley wins this and gets her WrestleMania moment. I love Bayley. She's my favorite women's wrestler. I want that for her so much. And good for her for inviting CM Punk to Raw when he was under AEW contract. How do you feel about this one? Are you team Bayley?
Absolutely. I think Bayley, as Nick mentions in the chat, Bayley has to win.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If Bayley doesn't win, we will politely disagree, since she's so kind and she's a face now and she's not a jerk. I think that she's one of the best women they've had on their roster. I mentioned this to Wade over at the Torch yesterday. She is alongside, when you think about Sasha, Bayley, Charlotte, and then Becky, she was always like the fourth horsewoman, and she's really ascended, especially with the departure of Sasha, and become this linchpin. I mean, we talked about on night one how Damage Control is this great unit, and she was the one. They put out the text of how she put them together, and it was a crazy idea. I think, Scott, you're speaking to my language. If she comes down to Paramore, that's that's up there with the Rusev coming out on the tank in terms of like ultimate entrances, or CM Punk coming out to his old music during the AEW title match. Like, that was like, what? So I'm with her completely. And I think this is one of those sneaky, this could be one of the matches of the weekend, because Iyo is one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, and they're going to want to prove that they can bring it.
Yeah. I think I spoke to Bayley last week, and that should be up on my channel probably tomorrow. I think she's definitely getting Paramore. She's definitely getting a Paramore entrance. And I think this is kind of the moment to like give Bayley like the flowers that she's always deserved. I think that Mercedes, Becky are really, really amazing wrestlers, and Charlotte is also like a really great wrestler, but she definitely has like that kind of like company support behind her, whereas like Sasha and Becky like always felt more organic, and Bayley too, but Bayley's like the one that just hasn't like got her moment yet, you know. And I hope she gets to this WrestleMania. And Iyo has like always turns out amazing matches, and I think like seeing Iyo in a big singles match at WrestleMania is just, you know, incredible, like how far she's come. So that's really good as well. Like, she's definitely going in there with the opponent where it's going to mean a lot to her, and it's kind of like the right opponent for her. All right, next up, LA Knight versus AJ Styles. What do you think about this one? I'm kind of okay about. I don't know. I just want like LA Knight. I expected something different. I feel like they've kind of gone back to like, what's the easy, you know, person to put him in there with AJ Styles. Like, maybe they didn't want to do like Logan Paul or something like that, or I don't know. I just feel like maybe it's because there's so much else going on in WWE that his kind of like momentum has kind of dropped a little bit, but they still need to give him a Mania match. And AJ's the guy. I know there was a home breaking police incident, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That hasn't really gripped me. How do you feel about this match?
This match, like I said, if this WrestleMania is a mid 2000s or mid early 2020, you know, obviously it's early 2020, it's 2024. This is a TNA, Eli Drake, AJ Styles, like main event we should have seen at Slammiversary, but we never got because they missed each other by like a couple of months. And so this is a match where the animosity they built with like the home invasion and all that stuff, I like it. And I think that it's middle of the card. But it's one of those, like we said before, you're getting two wrestlers who really deserve an attaboy on it. I might have preferred AJ or LA Knight in another match on the card, like let's say a singles against Paul or something like that. Oh, yes, Sean. Or if it's not Sean, Yeah, I think Tama, yeah, because Tama signed. If you have a reloaded Bullet Club and you got Tama Tonga with him and the boys, I am here for that.
Oh, that would be interesting. That would be interesting. It makes more sense than the amount of people I've said Tama coming in for like doing the bloodline.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so who have you got to win?
I think I'm gonna go with LA Knight losing. I'm gonna go with AJ after help from Tama Tonga
Okay,
and the
AJ.
boys.
All right, I can get behind that. I can get behind that. Okay, let's move on to Logan Paul versus Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. This is another one that like I don't feel that I think these two matches are like kind of in the same for me. Like I'm just not a fan of triple threats. I really enjoyed Logan Paul and Kevin Owens before, and I think maybe like a rematch, like a Mania rematch where they really go like all out on that. Um, Randy obviously, is great, but like he has a certain style, and it makes me wonder if he's kind of maybe gonna not. I don't want to say drag this much down, but do you know what I mean? Like he's kind of
Yeah.
like the maybe like slower one in there where I don't know if the chemistry is just gonna be like just right for these three to do a triple threat.
I think you're right, Steph, but I also think this is a good test for Logan Paul because I
Yeah.
think if I'm right, he's in a position where by the end of the year, I could see him. I said this last year after watching him in Puerto Rico. He could be a WWE champion.
Oh, for sure.
He is so charismatic, good or bad. You want to put eyes on him whether you love him or hate him.
Yeah.
He's excellent in the ring, and I think a Randy Orton match is a great test for him, even in a three-way environment where can he wrestle that slower style? Like Randy's the last vestiges of can you wrestle a Triple H match if you're in the main event scene? And I think that's the last hurdle for him to counter because he can do a spot fest. He can go move for move with a Ricochet. He can go crazy for crazy with Kevin Owens. But can he slow down and kind of show Randy I can wrestle too?
Yeah, for sure. So do you see Logan retaining?
Yes, much like our commenter, I think Logan's going to retain until time for maybe LA Knight getting that shot at SummerSlam. Yeah.
Yeah, LA Knight getting the shot at SummerSlam would make sense. Andy says Jake Paul. Are we going to see Jake Paul at WrestleMania?
Yeah, we probably are going to see Jake Paul. We're probably going to see KSI, and we're going to see we're probably going to see the bottle mascot for Prime. I don't know who's going to be in it this time. Maybe Jake's in it again.
Mm-hmm. What do you call him? Taylor Swift's boyfriend's brother?
Oh, yes. Taylor Swift's boyfriend's brother. I love it.
Hey, that's someone that doesn't know anything about football, and that's how I describe.
No, that's fine. Like again, it's like when I went over last year to London, and I'm looking at Eurovision, and I'm like, I got nothing. I just know these folks are great, and I'm enjoying what I'm watching.
I'm glad you enjoyed Eurovision. Nick says put Tyson in the costume to chase Jake off.
That would be fun, and that would be nice co-branding, but that might get a little awkward. That's a lot of money to spend on celebrities.
That is a lot. That's a lot. But then you would have Tyson having done WWE, AEW, and then back to WWE. So maybe they want to take him from that time that he fell asleep during the TNT Championship crowning. Okay, up next, The Pride. Bobby Lashley, Angelo Dawkins, and Montez Ford with BFAB versus The Final Testament, Karrion Kross, Akam, and Razor with Scarlett and Paul Ellering. This is a 6-man Philadelphia street fight. So is this a match you're excited for, or is this the snack break match? Or I don't know, everyone I've heard has been pretty down on this, and I'm like, I just really like Karrion Kross, so I'm not getting up during this match.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a solid match for all of them. It's a nice attaboy for especially the Pride, because I know this was a big move, a big shift for Angelo and Montez in terms of like the characters and aligning with Bobby the way they have. And I think Karrion Kross, the best thing that's happened to him is having this stable, because it's given him a confidence he didn't really have with some of the stuff they were doing with, just him and Scarlett with the black and white fall and pray. I think this is going to be a really good, probably really short match, because if we're right and the main event's Bloodline rules match, you don't want to be too repetitive with
Right.
all the out of the match spots.
Yeah. Yeah, this one is probably like where I'm reading it from second from last. I don't think that's going to happen. They're going to have to separate this from the main event, definitely. I think that the Street Profits, yeah, they have done really well with Bobby Lashley because they were very desperately in need of like a refresh, a different direction, something else. And Bobby's given that to them. And it'll be interesting to see where they go after this and what happens and whether there's a turn or anything like that. But Karrion Kross, I think he has done really well with this group. I really liked the video he posted on Twitter when he had the cigar the other day during Raw. You know, I'm just really behind Karrion Kross and Scarlett, and I like this group, and I like seeing Paul Ellering again as well. I think the Pride will win this one. For me.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that there'll probably be a showdown between BFAB and Scarlett at some point.
Yeah.
And again, ECW, we're going to be in Philadelphia. You got to have the seconds fight, and I think it'll be a good, faces standing tall or less heelish guys standing tall.
Yeah. I can see this coming on after like maybe Iyo and Bayley as like a bit of a breather before they go into like the Logan Paul match or. Yeah, but not near the main event. Because it would probably not compare to what we're going to get with Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, that we both think is going to be a Bloodline rules match. So the question, well, before we get to like the end, what faces do you think are going to pop up in this match other than, okay, so Rock, of course, has to come back for night 2. He has to appear. The Usos have to appear, whether they're friends or not. They'll both come out. Solo Sikoa. Who else do you have on the card? Like who might be in Cody's corner? What friends does Cody have?
Mama Rhodes, Brandy Rhodes. So we're at 7 people.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman's going to be out there. That's 8.
Yeah. What about Teal? Is it the sister?
Oh,
Sister
Teal.
Rhodes.
Yeah, Teal Margaret. I think Teal Margaret will be out there.
On it on Twitter always.
Yes.
She was she was a character in the Brandy and Cody AEW reality.
Yes, I remember her. She was wild.
Like, can she coexist with Brandy if they're both out there? Like, that's the question.
I think they're gonna like do like the triple crotch shot. Like Mama Rhodes, Brandy, and Teal are gonna each crotch the Rock down the line and then slap him with the belt. And I think Stone Cold Steve Austin's gonna show up.
You think
Especially
so?
given he put on social media, he was out like right before Easter here in the States, and someone left a gift basket with beer and a note in his truck. And he's like, oh, who did this? And I'm like, okay, nothing would be crazier than when the Bloodline is whooping the tar out of Cody Rhodes, then the glass breaking, and him coming down in his 4-wheeler and going to town, and him and The Rock once again fighting at WrestleMania in Philly.
Do you see this as like a good version of Sting and Triple H's WrestleMania match then? Where we do
oh my God, that is such a great, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. What about John Cena? Because the fan theories was this, truck being in the background with John and Austin in it, but can you see John coming out to get involved?
If it's John Cena, okay, here, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. If it's John Cena, Steve Austin, and Cody Rhodes versus the Samoan and the black guy, like that's a little like, can we get like Ron Simmons over there or something? Can we even this out so it doesn't look like clearly we're starting some wild crap on this? But no, I think you're right. I think Cena, if he does show up, if anything, Cena, Austin, understand, and Hogan will not be part of the main event. I think Cena could show up with him. I would love, as Dro mentioned, Dustin. But I think with AEW's relationship, I don't think, unless Dustin's out of contract, I don't think they're going to let him be on TV for AEW, for WWE rather.
There's just something about like Cena and like the like space that he occupies that I can't see him doing this, just because like Austin is retired, even though he had that match, like retired legend. I could see him getting involved in something like with The Rock, but Cena, it just seems like he's still kind of in the mix, and he's like he's like he's a different generation to Rock and Austin.
But here's why I think it could happen. When was the last time we saw him?
It was it the New Year's one?
It was the match against Solo when Solo beat him with the spike. So it's not going to be like all at one point. Like these guys may be eliminating each other. Like Solo tries to cheat, Cena comes out of nowhere and he stops Solo and they brawl to the back. Rock shows up, Austin shows up. It's going to be like a heightening like counter, like Jimmy shows up, Jey shows up, etc. So I think, and then if my thing I've been throwing on Twitter, if they were going to do what I think is like the dirtiest thing they could possibly do after all this and have Roman retain again, they could have Jacob Fatu debut as a new member of the Bloodline. And that would then...
Ooh, that's a get. That's a get. Tune in, guys.
Breaking news. We got to have some breaking news music.
Nice. I hope Cody does like a really cool entrance like this.
It's going to be like doves releasing...
Was it at All In when he came out with like Pharaoh and he had like DDP and other old guys and Glacier and like tracksuits and stuff?
Yes.
If there's like a more updated, like cool way to do that, you know. But I think,
Sylvester Stallone. I think he should have Sylvester Stallone in a Team Rhodes tracksuit, and you got Rocky himself in your corner.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So, is he finishing the story? Is it happening?
I'm committing to it. He's going to finish this. If all of that happens, he's got to finish the story. And then give the belt to his mom and try not to lose it more than he could. Because I think winning it and then celebrating his dad. I also thought, I mentioned this to Wade over at the Torch, if there are any NXT or ex-NXT people who really had been affected by Dusty as a mentor, having them come out. Because honestly, if you think about it, one of the things they haven't really gone through in detail is Seth is one of those kids that Dusty believed in. And so if those guys could come to his aid and say like, hey, your dad looked out for me, we're going to look out for you, buddy. I think that'd be really cool.
The way I see it is like Cody, he has to win. He can't be a 2-time loser, you know. He just can't be. Yeah, and I do think he's got to finish the story. I hope that Dwayne sticks around. And I hope this, like, it's hard to know, like, what is going to happen next. But I think if The Rock pins Cody night one, and, you know, through bad means, obviously, like, not clean, but he pins him. And then Cody pins Roman night 2. I think that could lead to some interesting stuff between Dwayne and Roman, because they have to come to a head at some point, especially like the way that The Rock came in, and then this whole him being the final boss, like who really is the final boss, you know, head of the table, all of that. And I think the bloodline in itself, it does have to end in some kind of like family implosion, toppling of Roman, whether it's turning Roman into a face or like something like that. It's like, remember back in the day when we all thought that Solo was going to lead, like be the new leader, but that's because we couldn't even comprehend The Rock coming in and calling himself the final boss and like doing all that. It feels like way back when the bloodline stuff started, it all felt so simple, you know, just Roman, and his cousins, and we were thinking like, oh, they've got like other relatives they could bring in, and now it's just turned into this just like astronomical thing because The Rock is involved. So I think when Mania ends, especially because Roman is like so part-time, I think you could work something with him and The Rock for SummerSlam without like burning out, because they're both not going to be on TV every week. And I would like to see Cody just go and be like a fighting champion, and maybe, as we talked about, challenge Gunther, challenge other people. And hopefully, if he's able to do that, and because The Rock and Roman aren't fully full time, that he'll be able to not feel secondary to what they're doing. It will almost be like separate universe. I don't know. Do you have any like predictions or wants for like what you want after WrestleMania when all this is over?
I want it to be like the night after Shawn Michaels lost the title to Steve Austin, and they recreated DX, and it's Michaels gone, and it's Triple H and the Outlaws and China. I want it to be the bloodline where The Rock, like you're saying, I'm the final boss. The head of the table isn't here. I'm running the show. And Heyman flips and sides with Rock like he did with the Big Show against Brock Lesnar, or how he did against Roman against Brock. And then off you go, and Roman comes back, like let's say in a month or two, and he's looking to set the score. And I think you're right. If The Rock comes out on Monday Night Raw after Mania and says, Cody, I pinned you night one.
Yeah.
My cousin didn't get the job done night two. The bloodline is not done with you. That would be really cool.
For sure. Yeah. It's going to be such a moment. I can't imagine the meltdown that people will have if Cody doesn't win. But you never know. I think Cody said on Ariel's show today that he didn't know he was losing.
Yeah.
Until like the very end. Like, that's just heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a mirror of Roman. He didn't know he was losing to Seth in San Francisco. His dad wound up breaking stuff in the hotel room when they told him what happened as far as the booking change. So
that'll be Mama Rhodes if Cody doesn't.
Her and Pharaoh taking a dump on the WrestleMania ring, and it's just like, you're not going to do that to my dad.
Roman, he feels like he's a totally different person from that guy whose dad had a meltdown once backstage at WrestleMania. Like, it's wild, like thinking back to that time. You know, that one when Seth cashed in. Okay, I think that's everything. We've gone through all the matches, 2 nights. It's one heck of a card. And 13 matches. Wow. I don't know. It's gonna be great. And how are you feeling more excited now?
I'm sure absolutely. I'm fired up. And just as a point of clarification, I'm actually not going to Mania itself. I'm going to watch it from my Airbnb with WH and a few friends. I'm going to everything else. So I'm going to like Stardom. I'm going to House of Glory. I'm taking WH on a tourist trip of Philadelphia. So we're going to the Liberty Bell. We're getting him a cheesesteak. We're going to a Waffle House outside of Pittsburgh here. So he's getting the full USA experience. He might come back with a cowboy hat on, and I'm going to love it.
Respect. I did that when Mania was in New Jersey. I went to all the other stuff. And then I watched WrestleMania at a Hooters where Jay White was as well. We weren't together. We were just in the same Hooters at like Times Square. No, it wasn't. It was near MSG because they had the MSG New Japan show. So I know what it's like to go to the Mania City and not like soak in the Mania, or not like actually go to the event, because it's a lot. But I can't wait to hear WH's thoughts on WrestleMania. He's always got some amazing things. I was at a great party at John Pollock's, not to brag, at John Pollock's house about 2 weeks ago when I got to Toronto. It wasn't a party for me. It was John and Way's like joint birthday. And one of my best memories from that night is WH sitting on the chair in John's office. And in regards to Jay White, him just sitting there like looking like super wise and just nodding at me and going, "They fucked your boy. They fucked him."
Oh God.
Always direct. Well, on that note, please tell us everywhere where people can listen to your incredible audio and everything that you have coming up for this week.
Oh my gosh. And first of all, thank you. Thank the fine folks at Fightful for having me on. This has been hilarious and outstanding and fun. Anytime I work with you, it's a pleasure. On Twitter, you can find me at Rich_Fan. You know, as long as that exists, I guess. But in terms of my work, I'm basically housed at The Torch. I do a weekly show with Wade Keller, our editor, publisher, Everything with Rich Fann, where we talk about the news of the week. We also jump into far afield things. I also have an Everything mailbag where we talk through listener emails and thoughts on the anything from wrestling related TV shows to, why did you get into podcasting and things of that nature. I also do weekly, not weekly, I want to say that's once a month, the deep dive with Rich Fann and Will Cooling. Will also from across the pond, and I have been doing that for the last almost year. He's been great as I got like life skill, like dad things came up. Will was great in jumping in there and helping me take over that. And then over on the post wrestling side, I've been hosting MCU Later, which is a Marvel Comics podcast with WH Park. And so, in fact, after we're done, I'm heading to the airport to pick him up, and we're gonna go get some comics and then come back here to my house and watch X-Men '97 in my living room as my wife thinks I'm having a sleepover and I'm a 12-year-old.
You gonna watch?
Can my buddy WH stay over? He's from Canada. You don't know him.
No, that sounds fun. Yes, go check out all Rich's work. I just listened to you and Wade breaking down the CM Punk interview. We talked about that a little bit before we started on air, and it was a really great analysis of the man Phil Brooks and everything that he had to say. I thought it was very, very fair and balanced, and I really enjoyed listening to that as well. For me, guys, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I did see someone earlier in the chat say, why did I stop my YouTube channel? I didn't. Just on hiatus. I have an interview with Bayley that I'm going to upload to that this week before Mania. And I've got some other things planned for it too. And if you want to hear me talk about CM Punk, I was on Poison Rana's podcast last night. That they're part of the Post Wrestling Network, Braden and Davey. I was there in their house on video. It's called the BDE, their house. Absolutely amazing place these two young men have. Incredible. You should come to Toronto and check it out. But yeah, I talked about CM Punk on there and a little bit more about WrestleMania too. But yeah, that is all from us. Rich, thank you so much for doing this with me. I've had such a great time talking to you all about WrestleMania. And I hope that you and WH have a great time watching it in your Airbnb.
Oh, I'm sure we are, and it's like I said, the feeling's mutual. It was absolutely fun, Nick. Likewise, brother. Appreciate you.
And thank you so much to everyone in the chat. Thank you to our sponsor, Bet Online. Thank you to Rob, who's been behind the scenes helping out as always. And guys, I will be back on Fightful with predictions for AEW Dynasty in about 2 weeks' time, I think. Anyway, that should be a fun show. And I'm actually heading to Dynasty, so I'm quite looking forward to that. But until then, I'll catch you next time.